Hello, my name is Grace Ann Jarrett, and I go by Seisanne on the internet. This video is all about my experience traveling to Los Angeles and to same but different music festival in Perris, California. I went to this festival with less than 2 weeks of knowing that it was going to happen. This is because I was originally going to go to Lucidity Festival in Santa Barbara. Lucidity had really positive reviews by some of my fellow festival goers. And also my mom grew up in California and attended UC Santa Barbara. And my mom sadly passed away in 2021, so I was attending Lucidity in part in her memory. And then Lucidity got canceled, which was really unfortunate, but they offered a ticket to Same but Different as a replacement. So I basically dropped everything at the time to go to this festival, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do so. I went alone and I had to make last-minute plans, but everything worked out really well. I ended up using a whole bunch of different transportation methods to get there, and I got to fly on a plane and be in an airport for the first time in 8 years, which, as you can see, I'm really excited about. I took an overnight bus from Tucson to Sky Harbor, and then I flew from Sky Harbor to LAX. This trip definitely involved trying to sleep on the bus and nap in the airport. And you can see me here with my trusty bag of gluten-free food. One of the first things I noticed in Sky Harbor was that they had all kinds of cool art everywhere, from the floor to the walls. To the window! To the wall! Despite having to wait for a while in the airport, one thing I liked is that it wasn't really busy, and I took off really early in the morning, so it was pretty chill. I got to explore the airport a little bit, and then I even found the bigger art gallery. Most of the pieces that I saw, if not all of them, were by Merrill Mayafee, and they even had a video from him here where he got to share a little bit of his message and encourage other artists, which I'm an artist too, so that was pretty cool. I got to spend some of that time that I was waiting for my flight making plans for my trip. And I got to watch the sunrise at an airport, which felt really cool, although I have to admit that already by this time I was kind of tired and hadn't slept really well. I got on the plane and I was honestly a little bit nervous. I was excited, but my body didn't like the feeling of flying. I hadn't flown in a while, and the last times that I had, I'd gotten used to it at that point. But I spent the whole flight trying to play games on my phone and just relax so that I didn't feel nauseous or nervous. That wasn't something that I had hoped for or expected, but it is what happened. As some of you likely know, Los Angeles has been dealing with some wildfires recently, and while I was flying to LA in September, I noticed some previous fires that were going on, and it was kind of scary to see, and right now there's been lots of other problems that have come from the fires. I don't know everything about this, but I am going to include some links in the description box to help with those if that is something you are able to help with. I was pleased to see these lounge lizards when I touched down in LA, and I enjoyed that they had lots of art in the airport as well. I read a little bit about the art concepts that they talked about right here, and I thought that was super cool. Since I haven't been in an airport in a long time, it was really nice to see that there was art everywhere. And it's also worth saying that I suppose that's one place you can access it if you can get plane tickets. But I also liked seeing the sticker slaps outside as soon as I left the airport. I wasn't 100% sure of what I was going to do and where I was going to go after I left the airport, but I knew that I wanted to go to the beach. It was unfortunately really cold and gray that day, but I still decided to go to the beach, and I went to the Santa Monica Pier because I knew that there'd be other stuff to do on the pier. Checked out some of the shops and went to this arcade where I got photo booth photos, which was nice since I was on a solo journey. Played with my flow toys on the beach, and I ended up making a sandcastle in memory of my mom. And I brought this dried flower with me. I don't know if you're supposed to leave dried flowers on the beach, but I had one, and I think the seagull may have eaten it anyway. Speaking of flowers, I was working as a florist at the time, and while wandering around Santa Monica, I found these very cool floral arts made by these florists from Bloom Nation, and I took some photos of those. I did a little bit more wandering around, and I wanted to grab some stuff from a dispensary, so I actually rented a scooter, which saved me a whole bunch of time and energy. And I also used it to get to the streetcar, which I needed to get on to go to my train to get to Perris, California. I moved a lot closer to Union Station, and I stopped at the Museum of Contemporary Art. I didn't go inside because I really wanted to prioritize getting on the earliest train that made sense for my trip. I got on the train. They even had this quiet car for people like me who like quiet or loud, or both. There was still quite a long journey ahead on this train here. Traveling by train is really nostalgic for me because I lived in Germany at one point. I studied abroad there for 5 months in 2015, and while I was there, I had a semester ticket as a student, so I was able to travel by train for free to any city in the state where I lived. So I traveled by train really frequently then, and it was a really fun experience getting to go again for the first time, because it's not something that I think about in Arizona having trains in the United States, so it was cool to see that they connected cities in a similar way in California. While I did have a lot of fun using these different transportation modes, I will say that it took me about 24 hours to get from Tucson to Perris using these different forms of transportation, and in some ways that didn't feel worth it. I would advise that if you are able to use a car, that it would make sense to use a car from a state over, or to rent a car if that's something you can do. I finally landed at the Aries Hotel in Moreno Valley, and I ordered from WT Falafel on DoorDash, and that was really nice to relax and chill out at the hotel. This cut into the Friday night of the festival, but I decided to just stay in and eat breakfast in the morning and refuel and get ready to have a full day the next day. I was by myself and not planning to camp. I didn't bring any camping gear, so it made sense to me to enjoy the hotel room and be able to have a whole day the next day because I was planning to stay up all night at that point. So I checked out and I found a nice smoke spot, and I got in the Uber to go to same but different at Lake Perris. I pulled up in the Uber. One of the people working at the gate was like, "Where's your group?" And I'm like, "It's just me." The driver took kind of a roundabout way in, and I ended up sneaking through a back gate by accident, although I totally had my ticket. The time I actually got in the festival, I was ready to just relax and enjoy the beach vibes at the lake. Found a nice hammock spot and ended up wandering around, checking out different artists and seeing the whole area and the stages, because this was my first day there on the Saturday. There was lots of stuff to look at, and I really enjoyed that it felt like you were on the beach, even though it's a lake, but it's still in California, and it had that beach vibe, which is something that I don't get to see every day being from Arizona. It's a pretty big festival in size, not necessarily by people, but there was a lot of space to roam around, different areas where people would group up in clusters and enjoy the attractions. Definitely felt more like a festival than a rave. Definitely had some rave elements, and it had some of the vibes of the hippie type festivals I've been to, such as Gem and Jam in Tucson, where I'm from. And I've never been to Coachella, but I'd say perhaps it has a little bit of that Coachella vibe too. The thing that I noticed is that I didn't meet a lot of people. I didn't necessarily go out of my way to, especially as a solo festival goer. I would say it was harder to try to meet people at this festival than at ones where everyone was passing out candy. Had a little shopping moment, and I got my first third eye pine cone, which I've wanted to get one for years, and I'm really happy that I got to get one at this festival, especially because it was a spur of the moment thing, and that felt really exciting. Also got a new levee wand and some flow fans, and spent some of the night flowing with some of the other flow artists, which was a lot of fun. Of my goals at this point was to try to stay up most of the night because I didn't have a camping setup, and the festival basically goes for 24 hours. There's not a lot happening in the middle of the night, but I was trying to kind of rest on the side, not necessarily sleep, but just sort of chill out and enjoy the show without being super active. Here I am at Zingar's set, and she was one of the people who I wanted to see the most. I missed her at a previous festival, so I'm really excited that I got to see her at this one. It did feel really nice to have a lot of space to chill out, to sit, to stand, to dance, to flow. But I will say that if I ever went to this festival again, I would probably go with at least one other person, if not a bigger group. It would probably be more fun, and you'd probably get a lot more out of the camping experience, which is something that I skipped. And part of that was because I went on the spur of the moment, and that is also something that was really exciting. So I wouldn't change anything that I did. You know what they say, what happens in Butt Vegas stays in Butt Vegas. Here I am at LS Dream's set, and he was also someone that I really wanted to see. However, at this point in the night, I was really cold. I feel like I can't be all that surprised, but this is another thing where it comes in handy to have the camping setup and the blankets and the jackets and bring all your stuff in a car. I still always managed to find a nice place to sit and enjoy the sets, whether that was close up or from a distance. Mostly from a distance, because I like to stay in the back. Either way, you get more space and you can do other stuff like flowing. By the deepest part of the night, I ended up finding a nice place to lay down in a tent somewhere. Not like a person's tent, but like one they had in the festival. Morning came and I got to hang out with the Groove Grove, and I loved their setup that they had at this show. Loved having the opportunity to perform with other artists. And also, look, I found my ball. I brought the beach ball thinking that maybe I'd find more people with it because, you know, people might bring inflatables. I brought a beach ball. You're meant to use a beach ball with others. I lost the beach ball more than once and ended up finding my people anyway. On Sunday afternoon, I was set up to stay in an Airbnb that was about a 10 or 15 minute drive from the festival venue. Some things about that were preferable to staying in a hotel, which was probably like 30 minutes away. While it was close enough that I could have gone back to the festival for the last night on Sunday, I ordered a whole bunch of gluten-free groceries on DoorDash, and it made more sense to me to spend the time recharging and refueling and relaxing. Only trains to get back to LAX in the morning were really early, and I decided that I'd rather get the sleep. I have no regrets about the way things played out, and it's hard to when going to festivals. It's always a lot of fun, no matter what happens, and there's always something that happens. Always encounter an interesting situation and meet interesting people, especially since I went to this festival with less than 2 weeks' notice. I wouldn't change a thing. Here I am taking the train back to LA. I got to listen to more music on the ride, and I was enjoying the post-festival bliss, not the post-festival blues. I did a lot to keep my journey low stress for myself, and I called on a lot of knowledge that I had previously from things like my trip to Germany. It was a really key experience that I brought up several times in my mind. Used a lot of the knowledge I had previously from my time in Germany. I can definitely say it would have been harder traveling for 24 hours on less than 2 weeks' notice if I hadn't had that experience previously. Went straight to LAX at the end leg of my trip, and I enjoyed my stizzy and the rest of my guac before getting on the plane, and had plenty of time before I had to actually board the plane. Took a bunch of selfies, and I enjoyed my cute outfit, which quite honestly, dressing cute made me feel way less nervous on the second leg of the trip flying back. I was in a much better mood after the festival than I was before I left, and there are probably a lot of factors, but I just felt a lot better flying back than I did the first time around flying there. Even though it was kind of more of a vacation filled with a lot of restful moments, I just enjoyed the trip a lot, and I had a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I got to go to this festival when I did. On my way back to Phoenix, I had some downtime between when my plane would land and when I had to get back on a bus to go back to Tucson. And I didn't want to just be out and about with no plan, not knowing how tired or energized I would be after the whole trip. So I booked a pool pass at the Canopy Tempe on Resort Pass. I was getting back too early to even be able to check into a hotel anywhere. I still kind of wanted to enjoy the vibe of a hotel and know that I had a safe place to hang out without having to look for some place to hang out. The pool pass made a lot of sense for my trip, and I would definitely do something like this again if I felt like I had that downtime. And I got to enjoy more cute outfits and wear this rave bodysuit as a swimsuit. And I enjoyed that there was absolutely nobody at this pool during the time of day when I was there. So I even took over a cabana, and the workers saw me. They didn't seem to care, but I just went over there and I had fun hanging out at the pool. I got to enjoy a nice view, and I got to take lots of cute selfie videos at the pool in my nice outfit. It wasn't something that I was doing every day, certainly not at this point in time. And at this point, I hadn't been to the beach in years, and I hadn't been to a pool in a long time. So it felt really nice to have those moments of relaxation. And I reflected on how I was originally going to go to Lucidity to celebrate my mom and her life, but in the end, the script got totally flipped. This ended up being something I did to celebrate myself. It came at a time that I honestly really needed it. My mom had never been to a festival herself, but at every show that I've been to since she has passed, I know that she really is still there with me. And so is my friend Sam, who I did go to festivals with, and she passed in 2021 as well. I always know that they're both still right there by my side. And on the very last part of my journey, I grabbed a gluten-free pita from Pita Jungle, which was right up the street from where I was. It was a nice handheld option to eat while I was on the bus. And I even walked past Shady Park, which I'm happy they're still open. This is one place that they hold EDM events in Arizona. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and find me on other social media at seisanne.